Hey, everybody, welcome back to At Home, the series where I get a chance to talk to folks at Cisco and outside Cisco about what life is like for them during, a crisis like, this pandemic that we're all living through here in 2020. So today, I'm lucky enough to be joined by a friend of mine. So we're at home with Kharem Espinoza today. Hey, Kharem, how's it going?
Hey Jeff, doing well.
Good.
Thank you.
Right on. Good to see you. It feels like forever since we got a chance to stop and just talk for a few minutes.
Yeah, talk about bands.
Exactly. And I got to say, this is one of my favorite things about doing this series with anybody is you get a chance to see people's offices and get a little taste of who they actually are as people, which is kind of the point of the series, just to see what everyone really is like when they're at home and, not putting on the suit and tie, so to speak, when they go to work. So when I know when we were talking a little bit earlier, prepping, I saw your Metallica posters back there and I got super excited. So I actually went and changed shirts because I wanted to be so much more comfortable. So I got one of my favorite bands right now.
Exactly.
It's awesome. Is the rest of your that side of your office, or do you and your husband share an office, or?
And that's so funny because people ask me about them, and I didn't set them up for this new reality. They were there since we moved, so it's not like, hey, I want to show. They've been there, and now we just work from home. So now everybody gets to see them. But we
Yeah.
share a little room, my husband and I, and so my side of the office has like a bunch of crafts stuff and
Mhm.
Metallica stuff. He has a lot of toys. I'll just say that. He has a lot of toys that he enjoys, like the GI Joe that I got him this this
Awesome.
this year for his birthday.
That is so cool. Right on. So one of the things I like to start off the series, every show really with is kind of the question how are you doing? How are things different for you now? I mean, other than the obvious of being home all the time, how would you say things are different for you now that you are working from home exclusively?
Well, it's interesting that we're talking now, because I think my answer would have been very very different a couple of months ago when this whole thing started.
Yeah.
I think after coming to terms with the new reality, I'm feeling a little bit more positive, more hopeful.
Mhm.
I've I've started to take a new approach into my days, and I'm definitely avoiding any use of, hey, when this is over, we'll do that. When the crisis is over, or we'll go there, or we'll do that. I realized there's no point in living my life that way, and I've just started to enjoy whatever we can do that day. If it's nothing, it's nothing. If it's a walk around the block, enjoy that, and not use those things. I also noticed that it helped my little ones at home as well
Oh,
when
okay.
I took that attitude instead of saying like, one day we'll go to the museum. So your question, I think it's now, my answer is now very different. I've learned to manage the situation differently and be more positive and try to enjoy the little things. And somebody said it this morning actually on our ELT call. Not live my life waiting for something to happen, but just accept that this is my reality today and enjoy it.
I
So
like that.
it has been very eye opening, because I feel like even before this crisis, I used to live my life with what we're going to do this weekend, what we're
Mhm.
going to do for your birthday, what we're going to do for the holidays, what we're going to do in the summer. It was always that. And I've learned to live my life now a little bit more of what we're going to do today
Yeah.
and
I like
enjoy that.
I like that. It's kind of a mindset shift from, I don't want to say a fixed, it's something so black and white as a fixed mindset to a growth, because it's not quite that, but it's sort of the mindset of we look at the week as here's the work days and kids have daycare or school or whatever, the work week, and then we'll do something this weekend. And it's more of, still finding a rhythm in your life throughout the weeks and the months, but allowing yourself to enjoy whatever happens on a given day rather than having to bundle it all up and wait for this magical weekend thing to occur. And it can only happen on the weekend. And now it's no, you can kind of make those things happen whenever you want them to happen, which is probably more fun anyway, to be honest.
True. True.
Right.
It's been very, very eye opening. Definitely a huge mind shift that we didn't do. I don't feel like I did it I didn't do it. Um I was kind of forced into doing it. It was my way of coping with the
Yeah.
situation. So it was, I wish I could say naturally, I grew up and as a person, and I realized that this is a better approach. I was kind of forced into thinking this way, but now I'm very thankful that I've been able to do that mind shift and just enjoy every little day, every little thing a little bit more, and not thinking what we're going to do when the pandemic is over.
Yeah.
Definitely not. It didn't work for me. Maybe, at least for
Mhm.
me and my family, it wasn't a good approach.
So that's sort of the new rhythm that and I've used this term rhythm a few times, and people watching these videos have probably gotten tired of me saying this, but like the whole idea of like the difference between thinking of it like a work-life balance, which is so hard to really achieve, whereas if you think of it more like a sheet of music and trying to find a rhythm in it where you're going to have highs and lows, but at the end of it, it just makes a nice harmony. Figuring out what that rhythm looks like for you really makes you focus more on the longer term, like the week, the month, whatever, as opposed to how am I balancing this one chunk of time or this day in front of me? And it sounds like what you're doing, sort of embracing that, has allowed you to, with your family and with time that you have available, find the rhythm in between the things that are like, professional related, passion related, your kids, your family, whatever it happens to be.
Yeah. And if I may, Jeff, I actually, on your last episode, I commented on it and I made a comment around the harmony because I absolutely love that analogy that you brought
Yeah,
up
I'm glad.
on that one. I 100% love it. I think we should all shift instead of thinking of a balance, especially now. We're all kind of being forced into changing this way.
Mhm.
But it is true. There's no balance. It's your life, and both of those are part of your life. So when you mention balance, it's like you're almost saying that one doesn't belong with the other.
Oh,
You're
that's a good point.
saying
Yeah.
that they're independent of each other, and that whenever you're in one, then the other one can't take place, which in general outside of this crisis doesn't make sense. It's unreal, and then especially now when we're all at home, definitely it's unreal. So it has
Yeah.
to be, it is all of your life. You don't have to balance it, you just have to find that rhythm to make them both work.
It's such a good you saying it. I hadn't actually thought about it this way before. As you say that, it kind of makes me think it's almost like if you say you're balancing something where you have like one thing in one hand and the other hand, it almost makes you feel like if it's too much of any one thing, or if I'm doing too much of this, I must be doing too little of this, and that's not good, or vice versa. And it's like, no, it's not good or bad. It's you're going to have to do both in various chunks whenever it makes sense. I like that. That's a really good way to think about it because it almost looks at the idea of a balance as a negative. Like trying to balance something almost makes you feel in artificially inject a negativity into those two things, because then you're always going to be feeling like if I'm doing a lot of this, I'm sacrificing something else. And
Yes.
it's not a sacrifice. It's just I move things around to wherever it makes sense. Like on some days, I'm sure, there may be days where you're like, no meetings middle of the day, and you're like, I'm just not motivated to do something. I'm gonna go take a nap with the kids instead of, on other days where you may have to work 4 or 5 hours straight in the middle of the day. Like that's okay. Like it's not bad or good. It's just a different thing on a different day.
Exactly. I love it. I love that approach. It's hard to make that mind shift, but I think it's something that we should all start considering.
Awesome.
um,
Have you found that with like especially with the family at home, between you mentioned your husband is kind of in the office too. I've got to imagine there's a rhythm you guys have had to figure out between like the kids and being in the office at the same time and doing your professional stuff along with the family stuff. What would you say is sort of one thing that has really helped, like one thing you've changed or you guys have done together that has really helped that that dynamic at home when you're all working at home together?
yeah, I wish I had like, I've heard so many answers to this question around, hey, we've worked out a schedule. I think you even on one of the episodes you were talking about the 3 hour with your wife and your son. So we've kind of tried that, to try to have some structure and be super organized, which we are. Both of us are at work super, but then somehow in our like here with the little ones, we haven't quite been able to have that structure, which has been pretty hard for me because I'm very OCD that way. I need structure in everything in my life. But I've learned with the little ones, they definitely really quickly teach you the lesson that's not how
So
we like.
true.
So we have, a very little one. She's one.
Oh, so
So
cute.
with somebody, yeah, someone that young, it's very hard to have that structure and try to have a
Mhm.
schedule. So we kind of like don't really have one where we say, yeah, you watch them for 3 hours. We kind of wake up every morning
Mhm.
and we organize our day a little bit, okay, and then it changes. Then it changes because her naps. We try to have a schedule, but it's 1:30, it's 1. So I've learned to with this, it's just take it one day at a time and accept that there's not going to be a schedule when you have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old at home. There's not going to be a schedule. So it's been my answer. Maybe it's a little different than other people's because I've heard a lot of, hey,
Mhm.
we put a schedule, we take turns, and I love that. We tried it. We tried it. We definitely tried it multiple times. It's not working. So we've both just taken an approach of, you know what? Each day is going to be different. Some days I'm going to work a ton, and some days I'm going to owe a lot of people a lot of things, and it's going to be okay. So with I think my approach to this has been let's be flexible. Let's just be flexible. One day Samantha, our little one's gonna be super happy and she's gonna have a great day and she's gonna sit here with me and I'm gonna be able to work. And some days she's gonna be
Not so much.
teething and she's gonna need me all day. So
Yeah.
just be super, super flexible and that's
Yeah.
helped me keep my sanity.
You know, I love. I'm so glad that you said that out loud because I think no, I know for a fact that is one of the what you just said is one of the reasons why I wanted to start this video series is giving other people, whether they be, because these are on YouTube for anybody to watch. So whether it's somebody at Cisco seeing this or any place else, it doesn't matter. I think one of my key points or hopes from this is to hear from people like you that exact thing, which is you've given yourself permission. I mean, you didn't say it out loud just now, but that's effectively what you said. You've given yourself permission to just be okay with the fact that some of these scheduling things, whatever, work for some people, and that's great. You guys have figured out for the most part. You're probably evaluating all the time, but what is working for you, and giving yourself permission to just be okay with that. And I think it's a takeaway I would love for people to have from watching these videos because it giving yourself permission to use your time in whatever way makes sense for you, whether you're like the two of us who have partners at home with kids at home, or you're living with a roommate, or you live by yourself, or whatever your situation happens to be. Everybody has responsibilities and passions that they want to focus on. There's no more or one or more that are more important, but finding whatever rhythm or whatever balance or schedule sort of makes sense for you is okay. Like, give yourself permission to be okay with that. You don't have to feel like you need to compare yourself to how somebody else is approaching that situation.
100%, Jeff. If I may add to that, something that I've in the last, a couple months that I've kind of also learned about just accepting the realities of each person at home is exactly that. Is we've never had we've any no none of us have ever handled a situation like this before, so we couldn't predict how we were going to react. So in the beginning, everybody was kind of trying to stay kind of flat, like everything's normal. But over time, when it really hit,
Mhm.
everybody started to react differently. And what I learned is you can't make any assumptions. You really can't. You have to be really sensitive about how every person handles the situation we're in.
Mhm.
And what I mean is, for example, my approach that has made me feel safe and kind of like under control has been ultra paranoid on ultra paranoid. But what I've learned is because that's my approach to this crisis, I can't I can't judge people based on that. I can't be like, but why are you not paranoid? Why are you going out? Why are you doing A, B, and C? Everybody handles the crisis differently, and you just have to listen and accept. Some people are going to be paranoid like me and not do anything, not go anywhere. Some
Yeah.
people need to go outside, and you were talking about that, and that makes them feel good to go
Mhm.
hiking. Some people, and you just have to, you don't know the situation at home with kids, younger kids, older kids have different challenges,
Mhm.
teenagers, completely different challenges, no kids, maybe you have older parents, you don't know. So you can't, based on how you're handling the crisis and whatever makes you feel under control, just also understand that people are going to react differently and not everybody's going to be ultra paranoid, and that's okay. Actually, that is very okay. That is very okay, everybody to not be ultra paranoid. But that's also something that I've learned just talking to the teams that everybody's mindset is so different, and you have to be very respectful and very careful, just like we are with other things in life. At work, we are very careful with political views and things like that. We also have to be very careful with the approach to this crisis, and don't criticize people because they're being paranoid, or because they're going outside, or because they're wearing or not wearing masks.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to handle it differently. I have to be very sensitive
Yeah.
about that.
I like
And
I really like that message a lot because it gets to a root, I think, that all of us probably could take to heart a little bit more, which is having a little bit more empathy for those people around us. Because it's really, like you said, it's really easy to see something in the news or hear an update and put your own viewpoint and your own perspective on anything on top of that. You're gonna do it because that's how human beings work. But it's really hard to lose sight of having some empathy for another person. Like, you don't know where that person's coming from, you don't know their situation. And there are people who are the extremes, of course, but for the people who are not extremes, they're just doing something a little different than what you would do. Doesn't make it a bad thing. It's just different. I like that. It's I think a good reminder for everybody to have a little bit more empathy, and especially, if we're thinking of like our professional careers for a little bit, anybody, not just you and I, but anybody, especially if you work for or are a people leader or leader of other people, your job is to make sure those people are taken care of, and they have everything they need to be successful. It doesn't matter what that is. It doesn't mean just successful in their career, but in situations like this, I think it's so huge to remember that empathy thing and be able to check in with people periodically and give them the space to be who they are in the situation they're in, because it's going to be different than you, and that's okay. That's totally fine.
yeah, yeah, 100%.
Right on. Well, Karen, thank you so much. I know we're in a little long on time today, but I really appreciate having you on. It's been awesome to catch up with you. Hopefully, we can do it again here soon. But again, thank you for being on At Home. It's been great having you here.
Thank you so much. I love the opportunity. I love all of your episodes. Definitely recommend.
Thank
And
you. I
thank
appreciate
you
it.
so much. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Karen. And everybody, thank you so much again for joining At Home. If you like the video, I'd love a thumbs up. It really helps the channel a lot. If you'd like to keep up on future videos I don't know why I say we, but I do. Hit the subscribe button. That way you can get notified in YouTube about new videos that come out. And I would love to hear your thoughts, any comments, feedback you have for the show. If you have any suggestions for future people to interview, I would love to know. Just put them in the comments below, and we'll see you all soon.